storm, I thought that help was here. But it was my own reassurance. If every time you speak you keep it off the record, consequently you can keep your record clear. And if you mute the speech that shakes your frail beliefs, you only seek to insulate your image and continue down the stream in the direction clout and credit steers. Directly from your mouth into am I the asshole Reddit's ears. Directly back into the greasy pockets of some Gates Foundation financiers. And then directly back into the frantic final thoughts of early trial Neuralink volunteers, staring at the numb and mumbling vacancies where recently had been their peers. Half of whom are glitching with the memory stuck on pause, and half have zero fucking clue just who they are or why they're here. It's been said that fear is all we have to fear, but that was back before the basosphere condenser came along, distilling concentrated fear that's diamond pure, crystal clear, oppressor strong, and woven into every single article you read and song they let you hear. And then Elon heard that Jeff enhanced our fears by 86%, and he said, hold my beer. And not a single sheep among the herd would turn their head or say a word, cause they were all too busy begging for the shears, begging for the muzzle, happy just to guzzle, feed, and watch a screen for all their years. Man, to each his own, can't afford a home, but they'll let you have your cozy little ecosphere, where there among your own devices you can break the seventh seal, overthrow the oracles and slay the seer. All the tomes were burned and all the lips were seared. Shut your eyes and all our lives just disappear. Now blink them twice. Welcome to your ecosphere. You don't think I see you crying in your cars, but I do. Sometimes I can feel it at a red light, someone at my side trying to muddle through. See them wiping their eyes in the rear view, like black hole sun in the sky. Why the fuck won't you come when I need you? Well, this moment in time is as close as we'll be and as far as I'll meet you. Two windows in between us, new moon in the house of Venus. One stranger who sees you and reads your features knows that your alibi might be tight, but it's not quite leak-proof. So if you're sitting at the light and you're crying in your car, just know that I see you. And it's a 50-50 that I'm bloodshot, gun shy, once bitten, twice tried, ribs pried wide to the sky till I'm see-through.
That's you, in case you don't recognize yourself.
You don't think I see you struggling to breathe, but I do. I see you stumble in your everyday grief like I do. I try, but I do. I'm twice bitten too. My mind's split in two. My knuckles bright white from the 10 to the 2. And the song in my head is the theme for a fugue, a state of decay through the filter of corporate news, where they edit the grays and the blues. They whitewash the brown till they drown out the natural hues. And then it's just another fact to refuse, that the corporate ladders for hanging the company noose. Consider it one of your perks, after all it's communal in use. So you can come and hang till your legs go limp and they're shaking you loose. Now you watch 5 co-workers opt for the alternate exit, neatly suspended above where you wolf down your food. And your company gets its incentives embellished by harping on wellness, suggesting you'd best take time for your mental health after your 14 hours are through. Like we gave you a bottle to piss in and fixed up a noose on the crossbeam. Christ, what more can we do? So if you struggle to breathe any moment that you aren't asleep, then remember, most of Americans fear for their savings, fear for their shelter, fear for their babies. You aren't the fringe of exception, but rather a perfect example of capital's rule. And you're far less alone than the ruling class tells you is true. You're far less alone than the ruling class tells you is true. that's how it goes. We won't open our eyes, so we're the last ones to know. We're the last ones alive, kept our enemies close, wondered why we don't thrive, while we're grasping at ghosts, counting backwards from 5, counting backwards from 5, counting backwards from 5.
Count back from 5. The theater on fire, the cast on strike. The studio stock starts taking a dive. The contract's tossed and they're gone with the tide. The heads and execs, their hands are tied. We can't pump this dreck and treat you right. But what do you expect from the industry type who survive by the leeching of bodies and minds? From those who original thoughts never seem to find. So they're gonna reboot ALF before your wages rise. And it gives cause to pause and reflect on the times. If they're losing control of their fools and their mimes, when all those obedient actors who grew their careers by averting their eyes are now holding the line, along with the authors of countless scripts that strengthen the hand of that corporate grip, squeezing our throats till we take the pen and we accept and consent to the corporate drip, till you're all up to date on your pharma du jour, till you got a healthy support for the war on your lips. And now you know that the advertisers need more than a rerun summer full of flashback clips. Enter the scans from the year before, all the days of de-aging and mapping the face, and the hours of actors recording their voices are links in the chains that will bind them in place. Now all of those shows are so easy to make. When they got a drone they control that needs no break, it can bend, it can break, and it's cheaply replaced enough up-to-date films all in one take. And those studios bank on us doing our duty, unhinging our jaws and digesting the fakes, because they know that we'll love how synthetic it tastes. Watch as they edit your features without any trace. Not that there's anything you could do anyway. Now watch as they show you a movie you saying shit you would never say. Dystopia boldly accelerates. Maybe you're only a mold, something to fill with a clone, something that Elon would celebrate. Something they own, something they program and code, something that's woefully able to know it's exanimate. Cause it doesn't feel touch over top of the laminate. You will not feel an emotion, but they will not scan and examine it. You and the other consumer contaminants fed on the federal diet of Kiev, Havana, and Tiananmen. I can't be the only one weighing the pros of abandonment. I can't be the only one weighing the pros of abandonment.
Where did you think we'd go? Love, there's nowhere to lie. Guess it's not who you know, more it's what you can hide. Like we're chained to the floor, they're streaming us live while we're watching the war, counting backwards from 5, counting backwards from 5, counting backwards from 5, counting backwards.
There's a difference between peace and liberation, is there not? You can have injustice and have peace. Isn't that correct? Have peace and be enslaved.
Yes.
So peace isn't the answer.
No.
Liberation is the answer.
concept, but one that I assure you, when you think about it in the present actuality, is more desired than any other. And it's the simple notion of democracy. For a long time after independence in Africa and the Caribbean, we started to talk about a lot of things, but democracy was low on the list. Partly because we had identified democracy as the parliamentary mode, so that we had taken a historical form of class democracy, bourgeois democracy in a specific form, and we said that is democracy. So we absolutized from something that was very relative. And after we absolutized, we said, well, we don't want that. Why do we want democracy? That is for the British and these people who were debating in Parliament and so on. So quite a few progressive Africans prefer to lay the emphasis on some species of authoritarianism, some species of old-fashioned duties and obligations, mostly duties from the working people. And they said that this is what is required at the present time. And it seems to me, as we look at one African country after another, at one Caribbean country after another, what we are in fact facing is a phenomenon in which, whether the governments claim to be progressive or not, whether the countries are large or small, whether they are former French-speaking or former English-speaking territories, there is the same tendency for the fossilization of the state almost. It hardens as an apparatus that is totally isolated from and alienated from the vast majority of the people in the society, who in no way are allowed to practice any democratic choice, which has little to do with just elections. It has to do with whether they make choices, whether they influence choices in their own society. And the answer, when you pose that question, is invariably no. The pattern of development in our society has been consistently to deprive the working people of the capacity to make choices.
Who's that?
That is Walter Rodney, Pan-African activist and historian, Marxist. You probably might know, if you guys read How the West Underdeveloped Africa. I think that's probably his popular book. I still have to read that, by the way. But I thought about you and kind of what you brought regarding Ibrahim Traore a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like him saying, and we have that segment in our playlist where he kind of talks about how he rejects democracy, and we kind of had that debate as to the nuance as to what he meant by that.
Yeah.
And this could add another layer to that discussion in terms of how democracy, especially within the West, I mean, more likely in the global South, can be viewed as bougie or the bourgeoisie, which doesn't necessarily lend to choice, but rather lends to more authoritarian regimes, which we're seeing right now, more so. So whether or not Traore meant that he was rejecting democracy in that way, he didn't clarify.
Right.
But I thought this was kind of interesting, especially given that discussion we had a couple of weeks ago. And then I think just we kind of somewhat talk about that now in terms of, obviously with Trump, we're under an authoritarian regime, but minus Trump, like, are we really truly living in democracy, really? And I would argue no. Like, we're given the illusion of it, given voting and all that kind of stuff, but that doesn't lead to changes necessary that is meant to better the working class in particular. Is a way to kind of feel like you are a part of the system, but not at the same time, given that a lot of that control is still seized by the oligarchs, which in one of my stories tonight will kind of hint at this a little bit, especially with the Democratic Party. But anyway, just some food for thought. But welcome to INN News, episode 193.
Three?
Yes. Yes.
Right.
I am your host, Collin Radix-Carter, aka Care Bear. And sitting next to me is our tech guy, my co-host and extraordinaire of everything like computer related that I don't give a shit or know nothing about. Reef Breland. How are you, Reef?
I'm doing okay. Hold on, I'll fly us down. What? Oh. Well, we brought stories.
We did. This will probably be a
Yeah.
shorter stream tonight.
Yeah.
Well, I think one story I think in particular will be kind of will if it's not trending will be or will about to be. But I think a lot of news we were not interested in this week.
As always.
I think that's going to be I feel that's going to be a typical thing for a while. Given the discourse,
especially as we head towards
space.
Fucking electoral nonsense season, you know.
Sure.
But not looking forward to that.
But speaking of that, so my first story is kind of, I wouldn't say a throwaway. This is kind of what was trending last week regarding Trump's true social posts of depicting himself as Jesus. Obviously, people are not talking about that anymore. That's kind of, people are kind of over it by now.
Yeah.
But Margaret, who wrote the article about the segment, I think brings up some interesting points that actually I kind of thought about. Didn't necessarily articulate, but things that I thought about in terms of the imagery that he used in this, in the meme in particular that we've kind of talked about in the show before. So we're going to talk about that first. And then later on tonight, we probably should do a playlist saying "fuck Democrats." And yeah, I've been I'll kind of gone on a tear, but we have an op-ed here. Obviously, given the war in Iran, it's very easy to kind of blame Trump. But this op-ed offer kind of talks about how Democrats have been complicit for a very long time in terms of why we are here, in terms of the war in Iran and how they played a part as to why we're in the situation that we're in. Now, granted, given I think Kamala's comment regarding Iran when she was on 60 Minutes that went viral nearly a year ago, obviously people would kind of reference that, and we will reference that. But there's a lot more history pertaining to Iran that the author of this article just kind of mentioned. So I think it'll be kind of good to kind of see more of the background that you won't hear on independent mainstream news, to kind of give some blame on the Democrats as well, in addition to the GOP. And then what did you bring?
Well, we talked about not too long ago Israel voting in the death penalty for Palestinians, particularly by the Noose. You know, they're not going to lethal inject. They're going to just hang people, which I'm sure the parallels are not unseen by our audience. But I brought an interesting opinion piece on the history of the Noose in the area and in general, especially from colonial powers. So I thought that was worth bringing. And seems to be the ticket on everyone's docket tonight. The Palantir Manifesto. We got Alex Karp, fucking Fishman himself. You know, and they put out their, 22 bullet points about what their, company ethos, I guess, is working towards.
And some of it, I heard of a few of them kind of briefly over the last day or so. And I have some stuff to say about that, but we'll get into that later.
Yep. All right. Well, as always, we appreciate the support, especially the monetary kind. You know, YouTube takes 30%, and We would like all of the money you donate to us. So if you go to ko-fi.com/Indie News Network or scan that QR code on your screen now, you're welcome to leave us a few dollary dues that way. But, you know, you could be like one of these people. Look at all these folks with their names on the Hall of Fame. Look at you go. Right? If you give quite a bit to us continuously, we'll put you in yellow and you'll be one of our VIPs. You know? So yeah, we appreciate you, fam. Other places to give: Cash App, PayPal, Patreon, Substack. You're welcome to go to any of those places. You see the URLs on your screen now. But, you know, otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll ready to get to our next one? First one?
Yeah. So another religious themed segment for the atheist.
Yeah.
And the, I guess, agnostic, you could call me now, in the robot. So as I said earlier, this story went viral last week where Trump posted himself as Jesus on his Truth Social account, and then MAGA went ballistic over it, and he was just basically like, "Oh no, this is just me being a doctor." Okay, sure. And he had since deleted the tweet.
Okay.
So the post. So whatever. So I thought this was kind of interesting because Margaret Kimberley wrote on this regarding how that post kind of relates to, you know, obviously the faith of Christianity, but even within that, white supremacy. And I think you can make the connections between all three, given what we have discussed on the show before.
Jesus is the bread.
Oh, sure. Sure. So she titles it Trump, Jesus, and White Supremacy. And then she continues, shout out to Margaret Kimberley, beliefs in white supremacy and manifest destiny are at the heart of Donald Trump's actions and his appeal to millions of people. I'm not sure if Trump himself is thinking about he might, but I don't count Trump to be that intelligent to make that connection in what he's doing, but you can make that allusion to it, I guess. But I continue. Donald Trump's downward spiral has become more evident in recent weeks. His behavior substantiates the evidence provided by medical experts that he suffers from both dementia and a serious personality disorder. Beginning on the evening of April 12th, he posted all night on his Truth Social platform on various obsessions, including his ballroom, Joe Biden, and the Straight News. Those comments have since been forgotten because of his 334-word tirade directed at Pope Leo XIV for being weak on crime, weak on nuclear weapons, an associate of Trump Obama's sympathizers, who is also catering to the radical left. He felt compelled to add, he wasn't on any list to be Pope and was only put there by the church because he was an American, and they thought that would be the best way to deal with President Donald J. Trump. Okay, shut up. Just 45 minutes after indulging in grandiosity and disparaging a respected religious figure, Trump then posted an image of himself as a figure who appeared to be Jesus Christ healing a sick man, as if to say that he has greater spiritual power than the head of the Catholic Church. The seemingly nonsense was all Trump, his anger and pettiness directed at someone who dared to publicly express opposition to him and his policies. So actually, let me pause right there for a second. I actually did not make that connection because I just saw the tweet, but did not make the association that it might have been directed to the Pope. Given that, like, we know that Trump basically stays up all night tweeting.
Right.
Like a 13-year-old girl, and being on social media all night long or whatever. So didn't make that connection. So it could be as a response to him being so hyper-focused on the Pope that he wanted to kind of show him up. So interesting take, probably plausible knowing Trump, but just thought I should mention that. But anyway, The Vatican had been the target of Trump's ire for some time, and recent media reports revealed that in January, a Pentagon official summoned the Vatican's ambassador to a meeting to tell him that the Pope's comments on war and peace were not appreciated by the White House. The Pope had expressed concern that war is back in vogue and condemned using weapons as a condition for asserting one's own dominion. After Trump's Easter Sunday threat to end Iranian civilization, Pope Leo had words of his own. Enough of the idolatry of self and money. Enough of the display of power. Enough of war. The ensuing hilarity about Trump depicting himself as Jesus and the endless meme creation at Trump's expense are quite entertaining. But the opportunity for grim amusements to not mask some very serious truths about the United States and white supremacy that Trump represents and cultivates. White ring influencer Nick Adams, who serves as the special presidential envoy for American tourism, exceptionalism, and what in the hell is like? Okay. First posted a version of the Trump as Christ image on the X platform in February 2026 and wrote, "America has been sick for a long time. President Trump is healing this nation. The image and words may seem unimportant, but we should look closely before dismissing what appears to be mere silliness at first glance. The image predicts Trump healing a bedridden white man who is surrounded by other white people, a nurse, a soldier, and an anonymous praying woman, with bald eagles and fighter jets flying overhead along winged fingers that appear to be soldiers, with the Lincoln Memorial, Capitol Building, and Statue of Liberty in the background as a huge American flag flies in the breeze. Trump is dressed in ancient robes and both of his hands are glowing as he lays them on the sick man while the figures surround him and look on in awe and prayer." The image evokes an 1872 painting, American Progress, as you see right here, a pagan to the concept of Manifest Destiny, which depicts a blonde white woman floating above the country, bringing light and technology from the east to the west, as white farmers till the soil and indigenous people and buffaloes and other wild animals lead the invasion. Kitschy art can make a statement, which is especially easy when one considers that Manifest Destiny and white supremacy are, in fact, this country's official belief system. In fact, no one needs to guess about the connection. In a July 23, 2025 post on the X platform, the Department of Homeland Security posted American Progress and these words, "A heritage to be proud of, a homeland worth defending," which I believe we talked about on this show before. Exactly that. While there is an excess of religiosity in the United States, there's very little care for individuals or for the larger community. Politicians like Trump win elective office by promising austerity and cutting services and benefits that millions of people need. The progress, quote unquote, that is worshipped here is antithetical to the idea of care and concern for humanity. Pope Leo's criticism of war and his support for vulnerable people like the global South immigrants caught in Trump's mass deportations and his concerns for the millions of Iranians living under the threats presented by U.S. militarism make him an enemy to be scorned and mocked. The Pope did not just criticize Trump personally. His words call into question the entire mythology of U.S. goodness and the very idea of exceptionalism that allows Trump and other presidents to be admired even as they commit terrible acts. Of course, the Catholic Church has historically been a tool of conquest, imperialism, and supremacy. Trump's unhinged remarks have made any institution look good and present themselves as being progressive, even when they are not. It is interesting that Trump... Oh, you want to say something?
No, you're good.
Okay. It is interesting that Trump altered the original image and turned the central soldier/angel figure into what appears to be a demon. It is tempting to know what goes on in Trump's brain, but we are left to guess that the white people needed his healing also see themselves as fighting evil. Then again, perhaps he just likes demons. But who can know what fever dreams inspire Trump as he obsesses over how best to friend Iran or take the Pope to task? Trump claimed that he saw himself as a doctor in the depiction and not Jesus, but there was enough outcry that the post was removed from Truth Social. Although his devout MAGA base probably didn't care about the brouhaha at all. There are millions of people who consider themselves religious, yet who are also staunch Trump supporters. Evangelicals who are quick to make declarations of religious piety are strangely silent about their love of a man like Donald Trump. They don't care that he posts a blasphemous image or that he's been married 3 times or that his current wife was a nude model who he cheated on with a porn star. They don't care that he is an adjuncted rapist, having lost a multi-million-dollar lawsuit to a woman who testified that he sexually assaulted her. None of those things matter because Trump is seen as a man who will take care of white people. He'll heal them with militarism, patriotism, and racism too. The symbols of the US government are symbols of the power they hope will protect them, and if the law won't protect them, then angel soldiers and fighter jets will. It isn't hard to figure out why Trump loved this image so much and displayed it after lambasting a religious leader who called his policies and US myth-making into question. The Trump as Christ image is white supremacist imagery. Trump is not known for deep thinking or wide knowledge, but he succeeds politically because he knows his people, they are of the same mind, and he is Jesus-like to them, a savior. Some of them may openly express white supremacist doctrine, others are undercover and hide that ideology. Even his Catholic supporters may not be pleased by the Jesus prediction, but it is unlikely they will abandon him now. He can count on wide support from most white people because he has said he will heal them, and they believe that he will. So I thought it was interesting, just kind of the connections that Margaret was making, and honestly,
Sure.
and I actually, when looking at that image that he posted on Truth Social, it was giving Manifest Destiny to me as well. But I
Yeah.
think basically what she's saying here is the idea, and we know this about Trump, and this is why people get so aggravated with him. He says in public what they're probably thinking of in private. Like, they don't like the idea that he's depicting himself as Jesus and doing all of these things. They will kind of knock him on the head for it. But I can imagine many people, especially given those in power who happen to be white and male, maybe even female, depending, they might believe in, not necessarily to that extent, but do believe in this in some type of fashion. Like, especially that we're seeing in people in government, like right now in this administration, is the idea of like, oh, we can take care of you. We will protect you from the evildoers or like the bad people who you can argue are immigrants, like people in the LGBTQ plus community, people who are essentially not white, like that.
Right.
So I think it's not hard to make the association that at least people who are, surrounding him in his administration may be thinking this, if not applauding him for it, but they have the mindset to be like, we can't talk about this in public or we can't openly say it, but Trump is able to get away with it.
Yeah. I mean, partially this has been the marketing of the Republican Party for so long now that it's hard to distinguish like how they would do anything different. I mean, this is the same guy. They all lay hands on him for, breakfast confessional. You know what I mean? Like, to me, this is literally a lot of these people support Trump mainly because he's not a Democrat. He's like everything the Democrats don't supposedly stand for, even though we know they stand for the same things, but marketing wise, right? Like they're, the godless commies to the Republicans. So, we have to uphold this like religious God emperor complex that people have given Trump somehow. They've made him into like political royalty themselves. And, he's just exploiting that for his own benefit,
Right. And
So,
you can also argue, and I wish kind of Margaret kind of mentioned this too, the Democrats do the same thing. Obviously not as blatant as this.
yeah, well,
but
they all get their kente cloth out and they take a knee for, it's the same shit. It's just a
same
marketing
thing,
wank.
just right. But it's just,
So,
it's just say what you want about Trump, but he knows how to market himself and
Yeah.
the way, like, in order to get attention and in order for people to, like get a rise out of what he tweets or what he says, because
Yeah.
we're going to be talking about it forever. But, but underneath all of that, I think it's a little bit more sinister. And wherever, as I said, I don't think Trump is thinking like, oh, I want to do something. How can I get people to kind of think of the image of Manifest Destiny? I know, I will do this. I don't think he's that intelligent
No.
to go that far.
No, he's
But
literally
implicit,
it's the Bass Pro Shops of posters. Like that's what he wanted.
right?
He like make me Jesus, and make me look good. Like,
Right.
because he's not
But
even the one
it's
tweeting.
still,
First of all, it's some fucking like unpaid intern or whatever that he's using.
well, the argument that people were doing was saying like, I think he was tweeting this in the wee hours of the morning,
Right.
which he usually does. So it's very unlikely that it could have been,
Yeah, but he dictates all his
an
shit.
intern when they should be
So,
in bed.
well,
When we've known him to be like tweeting like all hours of the night or whatever
I'm
else,
sure he's got a
which
moonlight crew. You know, like
maybe, but it wouldn't surprise me if funny enough, I had the wondering like who made that? Like, did Trump do that? Like, do that meme or like, like, or I'm not sure if he happened to find it, but like, but so who knows? But who cares? Like, that's really not the
mainly,
issue. The issue really is just the subliminals that he's kind of sending that again people are not talking about, that this is very much building into the white supremacist ideal that we don't talk about in this country enough in terms of Manifest Destiny, that this is kind of what this represents. This kind of represents like, the exceptionalism and the individualism and almost like the superiority of white people in particular, that like only I can save you, only we deserve the best, and we are going to protect you, and we're going to heal you and save you from all the evil that is coming at you and all this other bullshit.
yeah,
So I think she's correct in kind of saying or kind of giving that imagery that this is subtly kind of a nod to all of that.
yeah. It's part of that entire
But you can
ethos now.
right, right. But you can make the argument if you want to look at it at a larger scope. That's what the country in of itself represents. That's not limited to Trump
Yeah,
or the Republican Party. That's pretty much baked within this country itself. That I think we need to have a lot more conversations about that in terms of, if we want to go back to the opening clip with what Walter and Rodney was saying, what is a true democracy? What would a true democracy where people actually feel like their choices matter, that their votes matter, that the things that we say or things that we clamor for are the things that we actually will get for the benefit of us versus the benefit of oligarchs. And I think both of us were going to talk about that in different levels in probably our final two segments tonight. But I think it's definitely a topic worth debating about in terms of, what is the vision of this country moving forward if this country is to survive, which basically right now is on its dying legs at the moment. But,
yeah,
you know, um, worth talking about at least, or at least kind of mentioning here, which is, and talking about this stuff is why we are suppressed to all hell in the algorithm. Although not so much lately, I don't think, but
yeah. Some stuff
nevertheless,
makes it above the fold.
right. But regardless, YouTube takes 30% of your money if you give us a super chat. Not to say you can't, but if you want to ensure that most if not all of your money goes directly to us, and if you enjoy this segment, you can scan the QR code you see on your screen, or you can go to the Ko-fi link you see at the bottom of your screen, or if you're in the YouTube chat and you're live right now, you can type in !donate, all one word, and the Ko-fi link will pop up, and you can give as much as $1. Anything will help us to pay for our bills. Essentially, that's what we use this money for, at least right now. If you want to give monthly, you can go to our Cash App, PayPal, Substack, or Patreon. Those links are always in the description below. And of course, we know that times are hard, especially right now. So you're not inclined to give. If you want to support us the free way, like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you think. did you have the idea of Manifest Destiny looking at that meme, assuming you saw it? What do you think of Margaret's comments regarding how this does relate to white supremacy and how baked that is into the institution that is America in general? And let us know what you think, if she was spot on, and let us know your thoughts regarding that meme. And make sure you leave a comment. We do read them. We sometimes respond to them. Some of you are saying some mess, so that will be avoided. But most of you actually make some good comments, so we appreciate that. And help us get to free K. I think we're about 90 subs away from free K at the moment. So maybe we can get there by, I don't know, by the middle of May, end of May, probably by then. But let's see how fast we can get to free K. And thanks for watching.
Yeah. Coolio. Well, Seven Sword Mary over on the Rumbles. I think Drump's post was him as Pope giving last rites to someone. Just, a little Noma Patria et Filia Spiritu Sancti, right before he sends you off to fucking die in Iran. Pretty much.
Well, I think that will also relate to your Palantir story in a way. So, given the manifesto, but yeah.
Bad Cookies in the chat. You can be my Jesus, Reef, my personal Jesus, someone to hear my prayers, someone who's there, my own personal Jesus. Someone was into Maryland as a kid or younger person,
Because Adam said, kind of blasphemy if you believe, sure, but
that's all part of the game now. Like this fucking exploitative idol worship, like they've been doing that for a minute. So, but anyway,
oh, Fig S. Adam said, who are the people flying above the shield?
Americas? Yeah, who knows, dude?
Is Kirsty the part of that?
Kirsty Nums. A man no pan? Fucking Jesus is the bread, dude. Exactly. I thought that was Depeche Mode. They might have both done it. I could be wrong. It's the 80s, man. It was not my jam. Like, Colin might know more that it was Depeche Mode or Manson.
I think so.
I think Manson did a cover.
Mode. Indy would have a better idea if he's in the chat. So
I think we're both right. I think Manson did a cover, and fucking DePedo Mode by Kieran Pine definitely did that one. God, Depeche Mode, man. This might as well throw Tears for Fears and Flock of Seagulls in there, But both, says Accord Lord. Yep. I know the Manson version, I think, more than the Depeche Mode version. Shows my age, doesn't it? Do like Depeche Mode though. They got some good hits out there. So, and the dancing, dude. They had the dancing down. That 80s dancing is a thing, dude. Just all versions of the Carlton dance to me. Like, anyway. But all right. The 80s was a long time ago. I mean, time is relative, as Einstein would let us know. All right. Speaking of time, Colin, we do history lessons on this show quite frequently.
Yes.
And I figured we're due for another one. Seeing as how if we don't do them, we're doomed to repeat them. That kind of problem. But we talked about recently Israel decided to vote in the death penalty for Palestinians, specifically using the gallows. Like they want to hang people as deterrent. We're going to get into that. So I found this opinion piece through Thinking Palestine by Zaraf Baroud, who writes, "The arrogant enemy does not understand history lessons, Israel's colonial reversion to the Noose." So They write Israel is also confronted by something older than Israel itself, namely the willingness and ability of the Palestinian people to mobilize and resist in the face of state-sanctioned death. The authorities cuffed the nationalist detainees, leading them to their death at the gallows, scaffolding and rope that had borne witness to the final moments of dozens of nationalists like them as they approached the noose with grace and a sacred conviction. They declared their final tribute to the beloved homeland, Philistine Arabia. Palestine is Arab, and issued a final, unflinching indictment of her oppressors. The families and communities of the martyrs gather outside, Shin Akka, dressed in white and adorned with henna, as if they were attending a wedding, receive the martyrs' bodies among eruptions of ululations and celebratory songs. That is not a romantic tale, but rather the tradition adopted by Palestinians throughout the British Mandate for Palestine, a colonial regime that saw to the systemic annihilation of an entire generation of Palestinian nationalists. Now, we've talked about that period of time before, mainly in passing. I think we've done a few things on, like, the history of Palestine in regards to that, but that's what there was
a movie that came out that we talked about a couple of months ago. I think that was getting Oscar nods. So based in this time period. So
so that's the time period we're in here. While the scene played out on many occasions throughout the British Mandate for Palestine, it can conceivably happen tomorrow, as Israel's Minister of National Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir, death penalty bill has been approved by the Knesset and passed into law. The death penalty law, an amendment to the current Israeli penal code, will result in the execution of those who have allegedly killed Israelis for nationalist purposes, or more reductively and disingenuously for anti-Semitic reasons. Further, recent reports have confirmed that the Knesset's approved legislation will no longer perform the death penalty via lethal ejection, but rather transform the execution of Palestinian detainees into colonial spectacle. In other words, the original mode of colonial execution has been restored as the chosen method of capital punishment par excellence. Now approved, hanging will once more become a colonial spectacle, which is enacted in the sterile and removed wording of the National Security Committee with the aim of cutting off terrorism at its roots and creating a heavy deterrent. It is critical that, as we discuss this new policy, we recognize that the extrajudicial execution of prisoners have always been Israeli prison service policy. Just in case you didn't know. But Ben-Gvir has put forward his proposal, and the Knesset passed the bill into law at a time, the period since October 7th, when the Israeli authorities have murdered detainees at an unprecedented rate. In April 2023, the Palestinian Commission for Detainees and Ex-Detainees estimated 236 Palestinians had been killed in Israeli custody after 1967, a period of 56 years in the post-October 7th period. In contrast, almost 100 Palestinians have died in custody, a killing rate around 10 times the historical average. A November 2025 report produced by Physicians for Human Rights Israel suggests that this may actually be a substantial underestimate by virtue of at least 14,000 Gazans who are still missing, presumed to be dead, or abducted at the time of writing, which is pretty much all of the numbers in Gaza is underestimated. In referring to terrorism and the deterrence it is attempting to manufacture, Israel aspires to the aimed incapacitation of the Palestinian national movement and associated military operations targeting the Zionist state. In this regard and others, Ben-Gvir is essentially proposing a revision to British colonial practice. If deterrence or heightened security for the settler is its goal, then history has proven capital punishment not just ineffective, but even completely counterproductive to the point of being incendiary, which is the main point of this article, I think. Here it seems appropriate and even necessary to reflect on some of the most prominent victims of British capital punishment, including the Al-Burqa martyrs, Mohammed Jamjoon, Ada al-Zir, and Fuad Hijazi, executed by the British after participating in the Al-Barak uprising of 1929. Their names and legacies continue to be celebrated and invoked by Palestinians across the world. Another case is al-Din's companion Sheikh Farhan al-Saadi, an 81-year-old revolutionary who, after being arrested for firearms possession, was executed on November 27, 1937, while fasting in observation of the sacred month of Ramadan. 81 years old. You know, they had a firearm, so couldn't exist anymore. So, like, they were among the 100 to 112 prisoners that the British officially executed in the Mandate, 1922 to 1948. It has, however, been suggested that this is a substantial underestimate and that 300 prisoners, only 2 Jewish, were actually executed in this period. However, this example is far from exclusive to the Palestinian case, as the British meted out capital punishment far more extensively in other colonial contexts, yet still failed to alter the eagerness of the native populations to resist colonial domination. For example, in seeking to suppress the Mau Mau rebellion in Kenya's war for independence, the British hanged at least 1,090 Kenyan dissenters, not to mention the at least 20,000 Kenyans killed in the broader counterinsurgency campaign. Yet, as in Palestine, the revolution continued, eventually culminating in independence. Have you heard about that? The Kenyan War for Independence, Care Bear? I'm sure you've touched on it probably once or twice, but like the British before then, the Israelis failed to recognize that the use of capital punishment has, in common with the escalation and intensification of colonial measures more generally, historically served to reinforce the Palestinian determination to resist. Nationalist activist and educator Akram Zaitar, in reflection on the al-Saadi execution, observed that everyone I met today was cursing the English and praying for the martyr Farhan. The evening newspapers were filled with tributes to Farhan al-Saadi. The Mujahideen issued a statement swearing to avenge him, and indeed, as Zaitar himself acknowledged, the execution inspired the establishment of a militant Palestine-based resistance organization that bore al-Saadi's name, the Brothers of Farhan, which I think still exists there. Sheikh Farhan al-Saadi reportedly approached the gallows with a smile, declaring, "Welcome to meeting Allah. Ya Allah, make my martyrdom a joy for my nation." Many decades later, on October 7th, Abu Abida, the late spokesman of the Al-Qassam brigades, further reiterated the essential point when he said that if assassinations were a victory, the resistance against the occupation would have ended with the assassination of Sheikh Izz al-Din al-Qassam in the Yabad forest in Jenin 90 years ago. So Abu Abida went on to add that this arrogant enemy does not understand history lessons and neither the facts of reality nor the culture and heritage of our people and nation, and even considering the use of capital punishment as a way of quelling popular resistance. Ben-Gvir and the National Security Committee demonstrate their profound ignorance of past historical experience, including the fact that capital punishment actually strengthened the Palestinian determination to resist. Thoughts, Care Bear?
I can add more to this.
Okay.
Social media.
Sure.
Like, the idea that Israel thinks that, oh, we hang people, like, that's going to be a deterrent. Look at the reason why Israel is pulling like shit right now is due to what they're seeing. We have seen on social media and the carnage that we've been seeing on social media at their hand over the last 2 years and change. Do they honestly think that hanging Palestinians is actually going to make their situation better? If anything, I say to Israel, go for it. Because you're only going to make yourselves look way worse. And actually, that kind of mentions the fact of what Chuck Schumer said regarding Palestinians. I think it was over the weekend. How he hold on, I have to pull up the tweet actually, because I want to get word for word what he said. No. Okay, I got it. Because I was thinking about this as you were reading. He said, "Of course, we say it's our Jews land. The Torah says it, but the Palestinians don't believe in the Torah, so that's the reason there is no peace. So this motherfucker is basically, and this is what because I saw Sabi tweeted this, and I made a comment that implicit Islamophobic much, because like you're basically saying, he's basically saying that he alluded to the fact that all Palestinians are Arab, which is not true, which we've talked about. There are plenty of Arab Christians that are living in the West Bank that have also been murdered. And I've spoken to a lot of Zionists who do not deny that fact. You can deny all you want, but nothing's further from the truth. So, but the fact that he says that is kind of rich, considering, what Israel is doing. Like, according to him, Palestinians don't believe in Torah. Yeah, I'm sure within the Torah, it says, especially if you look at the Bible at Leviticus in terms of killing people, like,
right.
And you think that's okay. So yeah, I think just.
Well, the same thing could be said about the fucking, okay, if you do believe the Torah, does that also not impede peace? Like,
right.
You could go both ways in this sense, if that's the problem,
But I just believe, and they're right. Like, the author was right here. Like, and we've seen this throughout history. We've seen this in the Black tradition. Like,
trees bear strange fruits.
Right. Like, we can make that same parallel. Like,
you
thought like
civil rights from happening.
Right. So again, I think, I think that this kind of speaks to the white supremacy, or at least the Jewish, not Jewish, Israeli supremacy. And let me make that clarification.
Yeah.
That, we can get away with this, and this will be a good thing for us, without thinking about the whole, in terms of, if you're a Black person, you're going to resonate with this. Anyone in the global South who is under some sort of suppression is not going to go for this. And I think generally the youth right now, especially with what we're seeing on social media regarding how Palestinians have been murdered and maimed and assassinated over the course of years now, we're still talking about many of these people. Like, so you actually think this is going to help your case? No, it's not. Like, but I believe, so if anything, it makes it harder for like nations to kind of make the case to defend Israel, given the actions that they're doing, especially if some things are leaked online.
You see Spain backing out from them now.
What's that?
So you saw Spain back out from them now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is kind of arrogance on Israel's part to believe that, if we hang them, that's going to deter them from fighting back. But we talked about this for the last few years, that no, like, I think it's baked within the Palestinian culture to resist, like, in the midst of that, because they believe in something bigger. So it's not going to work, and I don't think it's going to work in a way that
it's going to backfire,
like, big time. So I say go off and see what happens. So, but it's not going to make them look favorable in the eyes of, I think, the general public, who have been very disgusted with the actions of Israel at this point, and it can only get worse from here. But the other thing I do want to mention real quick before you end, this kind of shows this is not limited to Bibi, and this is kind of the mistake that the Democrats especially are making, that they make the association, the reason why Israel is so bad is because of the current leadership under Netanyahu. No, it's not.
Yeah,
this
it's been that way.
To their culture. You kill one rat, you still have to deal with the rest. So you're not talking about the whole government and the culture as a whole who are behind this. So you need to deal with the problem culturally in order to deal with the problem, if that's ever possible at this point.
Yeah.
You talking about Bibi is only just hiding, you just using Bibi as a shield to kind of cover for the rot that is existing within the Israeli culture of them feeling that they can torture Palestinians and think they can get away with it. Meanwhile, while the world watches in silence at this point, or we become so numb to it that we don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the danger of us kind of using this whole experience hiding behind a figure or two to represent the whole.
We talked about blaming on the BB quite almost at the beginning of this conflict.
Yeah.
You know, recent addition to the conflict. But yeah, I mean, it's just we've talked about it before too, that I think Israel kind of does some stuff occasionally just to make themselves look awful. Like, they're okay with that, like, you know, they're more than willing to be the evil junkyard dog, kind of, so to speak. You know, they want people to fear them. I think that's part of this too. You know?
Right.
So, but
except, is it really? But is it making them fear them, or I don't think it's fear that they're
like
but it's not working. If anything, it's more disgust out of anything.
Mainly,
like,
yeah.
You know, like no one is really, at least the general public. I mean, our politicians, that's one thing. You know, like, because they're essentially dog walking them, but like regular Joe Schmo, who's kind of watching and been observing this for the last couple of years, are not necessarily fearing Israel. If anything, we're just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, how can they be so callous in terms of humanity in this way? So, you know, I think, for the general public, it's just more disgust, if anything. So it's like, that being said, though, I do feel like if you can make that connection of fear that our politicians have in terms of them, given that they're bought off by the Israeli lobby, I can probably make that connection. But not for the general public, no.
They can do whatever they want and get away with it, and no one can stop them. Like, that kind of narrative they're trying to, like, continue to push. So, you know, I don't know, man.
I think a lot of it is just due to either how bought politicians are, or what incriminating information that Israel has on many of these capitalism. Being like, say some shit and we'll expose you.
Yeah.
So, you know, but the general public doesn't have that issue. So it's just like, as Indy says all the time, fuck Israel. You know, so like, you know, but again, it's kind of like, I don't know. You can't say you care about humanity and like not look at this as an issue and make the connection of how we're kind of complicit in this here. Because I'm sorry, I just can't ignore this and just be, especially this is happening under our tax dollars. Our taxes are going to this bullshit. And you're like, oh, that has nothing to do with us. They're killing these people while they have universal health care and we don't. They are torturing Palestinians while, you know, they basically get every weapon under the sun. Meanwhile, like, your child is not guaranteed to get food to eat at their school. If anything, those funds are being cut right now. So what the fuck are we doing? You know, why are we pretending that they're our ally when they're haven't done anything worth allying for at this point? If anything, they've just made this country a pariah at this point. And, you know, and people are tired of it. And I think more people are getting to be just over Israel at this point.
Yeah.
And I wish more people would call that out and kind of say, look, use your vote in order to, well, we know that, you know, like, voting is fake in this country, but at least don't make it easy for Democrats, especially, to be like, oh, well, as much as I hate them, given how complicit they are for Israel, we have to vote for them for my self-preservation. We're dead anyway. We're dying slowly.
Keep looking for those opportunities to actually fight the capitalist system. Like, the best shot we got right now. Throwing our fucking wrenches in the gears of the machine, you know? So, I don't know. It just sucks to have to continue explaining this to people, you know? But it's one of the reasons why YouTube has shadow banned us to shit. So if you want to support us without YouTube skimming off the top, you're welcome to go to ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, scan that QR code on your screen, or links to donate are in the description as always. And just like and subscribe. Share this video. Make sure it gets seen by people, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think.
And piss off the Zionists while you're at it.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're going to come in the comments. Like, come fight it. You can make
I
your
don't
arguments
care.
all you want.
They still clicked it.
Yeah.
YouTube don't give a shit. It's
Yeah.
still a view, dude. They don't care if it was a view from a shitty asshole. They'll still fucking give it to us. So thanks for watching.
Yeah, we got a few of those for actually. Just shout out to you guys. Like your green colonialism clip went off, like, which kind of surprised me and you, I guess, that it went off. The YouTube gods decided to pick it up for whatever reason, and then obviously, like, the Israeli Zionists were like, "It's not true." Like,
it's not true.
Like,
Haaretz would lie. Okay, shut up. Shut up. Fucking.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Someone blamed me because I didn't vote hard enough. I apologize. I should have fucking voted harder. My bad. Vicky Adams, it's what happens when you max out your leverage in a capitalist system and outsource all production with only war as the economic stronghold. Yep. I mean, this is the classic where we run on blood money here in this country. It all gets filtered, trickled down through Halliburton and Raytheon and Palantir and fucking all that shit, right? All these military options. As a war-making machine, the U.S. will continue unabated. Every single state employment depends on it. Yep. Fucking
capitalism.
Fucking yay, capitalism. Anyway, what else we got in the chat? Bad Cookies is here. Accord Lord says he accepts my blame. I don't think it's your fault, dude. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Accord also says, Cookie's right, the U.S. is done. The sad part is it's about to get way worse for us.
Yep.
Cookie said, but it's our own fault for our complacency. We never got together and forced our leaders to do the right thing before it was too late. Now it's too late. It only gets harder from here.
Yep.
Harder, yes. Impossible.
I think it's gonna
No,
be
but
fucking...
the conditions have to be right, and people have to be really committed.
Yeah.
In order to change things for the better. Which, given how complacent, as you kind of spoken about Bad Cookies, I want to have hope for this country that we actually can do better. But it's hard for me to believe that that's ever going to happen at this point. So
Yep.
You're right, but there's always that possibility of hope that
there's some options.
Try to hold on to, but you're right, it's difficult to have that hope.
Yep. Well, you ready for our next one? Moving right along.
So speaking of complacency,
yeah. You got Chucky the Shoon.
Hi, I'm Chucky.
Yeah.
And I'm your friend to the end.
Sure. Yeah, Chuckles is no friend of ours, but we know this. But this, India, if you're watching, you probably should make a fuck Democrats playlist, perhaps. I don't like doing this often, but because we don't want to talk about partisan politics here, but I think in this case, it's important to understand why we are here regarding the war on Iran, because mainstream media is going to make this all about Trump. Now, yes, Trump is an idiot. And yes, Trump got us into a war like haphazardly. But we also have to talk about how Democrats have enabled and basically egged on Trump in order to have this war. What do you mean, Colin? So you guys in the chat, you're smart. You know this, but this may be for your friends who may not know otherwise and who MSNBC or CNN are not going to tell you. So we're going to tell you via Truthout, as written by Stephen Zunes, who titles his op-ed, "This isn't just Trump's war on Iran. Both parties paved the way for disaster. We must recognize Democrats share responsibility with the GOP for creating the climate that has made such a war possible." So he's going to get into the nitty-gritty and the history as to why we are here with Iran. So unlike the invasion of Iraq, which received the support of a sizable minority of congressional Democrats, Donald Trump's war on Iran has received near universal criticism. Still, the party has focused primarily on process-style critiques, such as the legality of declaring war under the Constitution and the war's economic impact, rather than the humanitarian consequences and flagrant violations of international law. That should not come as a surprise to anyone familiar with the U.S. bipartisan consensus on Iran. For over 20 years, a number of prominent Democratic leaders, and in some cases, large majorities of congressional Democrats overall, have helped pave the groundwork for Trump's war by issuing exaggerated and alarmist statements about Iran's supposed danger to the region, threatening the use of military force, and undermining diplomatic initiatives, sometimes even criticizing Republicans from the right. We're going to get an example of that with Kamala. So we'll get into that in a minute. In 2024, the Democratic Party platform criticized Trump's fecklessness and weakness in the face of Iranian aggression during his presidency by not responding militarily to attacks by Iran and groups in Iraq and elsewhere that shares Iran's strategic objectives. The platform cited 4 separate incidents that took place under his first administration, failing to acknowledge that each was a direct result of Trump's aggressive policies against Iran, including the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, a top Iranian general. By contrast, the party's platform praised President Joe Biden for having authorized precision airstrikes on key Iranian-linked targets, which it claimed would deter further aggression by Iran. It praised Americans' ironclad commitment to security of Israel, right, folks? An unrivaled ability to leverage growing regional integration among U.S. partners to counter Iranian aggression. Though eager to stress military means to counter Iran, the platform failed to directly call for a return to the Iran nuclear deal under the Obama administration, which considerably reduced regional tensions, a deal that Biden campaigned on reinstating, but failed to do so. The month after the release of the party platform, Democratic nominee Kamala Harris attacked Trump in a presidential debate, declaring that her administration will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel.
Do not come.
So for those of you liberals who believe, oh, Kamala would not have brought us into this war, maybe she would not have been as reckless as Trump to bring us here.
She would have done it while laughing in your face with that fucking cackle, and you know it.
Right. So let's take the little trip down memory lane, shall we? So this went viral again.
This is the most election of our lifetime.
What? Sorry?
Yeah. This went viral over a week ago, but I think it's just good to remind the folks at home what Kamala said when asked about Iran on 60 Minutes last fall. So play the clip.
Let's hit on some more foreign policy. Which foreign country do you consider to be,
sorry, I just feel like she was like, no foreign policy. No, I don't wanna. No.
Some more foreign policy. Which
no foreign policy
do you consider to be our greatest adversary?
Well, there are different reasons that we should be thoughtful about each. Most recently, I think there's an obvious one in mind, which is Iran. And look, I mean, Iran has American blood on their hands, okay? And what we saw in terms
Where?
of just this attack on Israel, 200 ballistic missiles.
Why?
What we need to do to ensure that Iran never achieves the ability to be a nuclear power, that is one of my highest priorities.
So if you
And
have
that must
proof
be.
that Iran is building a nuclear weapon, would you take military action?
I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals at this moment.
Except you just fucking
So-
did. What the?
Oh my God!
Right.
Who the hell cares?
God, the fucking.
Right. But one of her greatest priorities, not universal health care, not education, not economic prosperity for Americans, war, or at least the potential for war. Because she goes on to say, at least in that clip, or at least at another point, nothing is off the table regarding Iran. So again, it's not to say that she would have brought us in this war in a way that Trump has, but I would argue there would have been better PR, there would have been better marketing by the mainstream media to justify going to war if Iran, a la Ukraine, had Kamala been in power.
Well,
that's the argument I can make.
Mr.
about
Worf,
that.
Mr. Worf, can you explain this, please?
I did not see what she was. Mr. Worf, villains who twirl their mustaches are easy to spot. Those who clothe themselves in good deeds are well camouflaged.
Thank you, Captain Picard. Like,
right.
I feel like it should already been figured out by now, man. Who's
Right.
at the back of the class not figuring this shit out, huh? You name them.
Right. So
you get these people on board. You know.
Right. So let's continue. So going off of that, this framing from the right continued into Trump's presidency, even as the president began pushing more towards sustained military conflict. During Israel's unprovoked bombing of Iran in June 2025, which, by the way, I wish there was some pushback from, I forgot his name, for 60 Minutes, not asking Kamala as to why Iran attacked. You know, that was a retaliation of what Israel did, especially given the assassination of Soleimani. You know? So, didn't mention that, but okay. During Israel's unprovoked bombing of Iran in June 2025, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer insisted that Israel has a right to defend itself, despite the fact that Israel had started the war. Just over a week ago, before, he criticized Trump for even engaging in negotiations with Iran, negotiations that provided cover for the U.S.'s own bombing of multiple Iranian nuclear sites. Just prior to the U.S. bombing of Iranian nuclear sites during Israel's war, Schumer posted a video to social media accusing Trump of folding on Iran by attempting to negotiate a deal, bemoaning about how Trump always chickens out, taco, regarding the use of military force.
Which would be a good thing if that's what he actually fucking did, except that's not what he's doing. Like,
right.
It's fucking timeouts. Hey, timeout, ceasefire, timeout. Like, let me fucking come back to it when I'm together again. Just fucking.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
Similarly, House Democratic leader AIPAC Jeffries refused to criticize the Israeli attack or call for a return to the nuclear Iran deal. Although Iran has no capacity of striking anywhere outside of the Middle East, Jeffries claimed that the Iranian regime posed a grave threat to the entire free world. Again, why?
Is it free, really?
How? Like, such hyperbole is not new. As far back as 20 years ago, Democratic leaders like then Senator Evan Baer were claiming that Iran may be only months away from having the capacity to build a nuclear bomb, and assisting military options should be considered. Similarly, then Senator Hillary Clinton argued during the Bush years that his administration was not taking the threat of a nuclear Iran seriously enough, criticizing it for allowing European nations to take the lead in pursuing a diplomatic solution, and insisted that the administration should make it clear that military options are being actively considered. These proclamations even came as the U.S. was struggling to maintain control of Iraq at the height of its occupation.
Yeah.
During the 2008 Democratic primaries, Clinton accused Barack Obama of being naive and irresponsible for wanting to diplomatically engage with Iran and other nations that U.S. policy had often antagonized. Despite these accusations, Obama selected her as his Secretary of State, through which, according to a story in Time magazine, Obama administration officials noted she was skeptical of diplomacy with Iran and firmly opposed to talk of a containment policy that would be an alternative to military action should negotiation with Tehran fail. Clinton was far from the only Democrat pushing back against the Obama administration's diplomatic efforts. In 2011, in an effort to sabotage any potential diplomatic contact with Iran, an overwhelming majority of House Democrats voted for a Republican bill declaring no person employed with the United States government may contact in an official or unofficial capacity any person that is an agent, instrumentally, or official of, its affiliate with, or is serving as a representative of the government of Iran. Administration pressure and constitutional questions prevented the bill from passing the Senate, but it underscored that over 90% of House Democrats were intent on undermining Obama's efforts for a non-military resolution to the conflict with Iran. The following year, a similarly large majority of House Democrats voted for a resolution urging the president to oppose any policy towards Iran that would rely on containment as an option in response to the Iranian nuclear threat. While Obama had already stated a willingness to consider taking military action against Iran if the regime procured nuclear weapons, this resolution significantly lowered the bar for a war by declaring it unacceptable for Iran to simply have nuclear weapons capability, not necessarily any actual weapons or an active nuclear weapons program.
Just the capability.
Right.
You know?
Which they don't. And still don't.
Well, they have the smarts to do it, you know?
Right.
Like,
but the question is, will they? Well, you can make the argument now they should.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Now you can make the argument that they should. So, you know, so that kind of puts us in a way, well, that would benefit us because then it'll give us a reason to attack Iran. I don't think Iran is going to because they know the implications of that. But that's not to say, like, other countries maybe at a certain point may not get into this, especially if, like, things economically among, you know, the West and the East and the global South get really bad.
Right.
But who knows? But anyway, in 2013, after Clinton was replaced by the more liberal John Kerry as Secretary of State and Iranians elected the reformist President Hassan Rouhani, yet another overwhelmingly majority of House Democrats joined Republicans in voting over the objection of the White House to impose punitive new sanctions on Iran. It was widely interpreted as a bipartisan rejection of the new Iranian president's offer to enhance nuclear transparency and pursue peace and reconciliation with the West.
How does the Senate
So,
fuck the whore?
So, going back to the tweet that Chuckles stated that, oh, like, Muslims don't know the Torah, so they don't deserve peace.
Uh-huh.
I give you Exhibit A. You had an Iranian leader that was basically saying, we're looking for peace.
Yeah.
And you all were like, nah.
Nah, fuck
so
you.
You can fuck off. So again, I said this on Twitter the other day. This is what, not actually on Instagram. This is what Malcolm X was talking about of how liberals are more devious.
Uh-huh.
Like, you know, because it's like, because they know better, but they choose not to. There's the difference.
Which shows
like,
you,
Republicans
shows you what? Like, it's not ignorance. Like, a lot of people think it's just that these are bad fucking leaders. No, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Their shareholders are telling them exactly what they need to fucking do. And they're getting the job
nothing
done.
more. Right. They're nothing more than actors pretending to be politicians in order mostly to appeal to the oligarchy.
Yeah.
They're appealing to the military complex. And I saw someone said, like, because I think someone made a comment regarding how Republicans care about, the troops and all this kind of bullshit. And the person was like, well, you voted for a Republican, you voted for the military industrial complex. Which is true, but you can also make that argument for Democrats as well.
Voted.
You're
That's
also
what you
voting for the military complex if you vote Democrat. So
you are complicit, regardless, just by putting a fucking check there.
Right. Which is sad. People don't necessarily think about that in that way. But that's how brainwashed a lot of people are in thinking that, yeah, this might be true, but they're essentially, quote unquote, the lesser. Not if you're like doing the same shit that Republicans are doing, or at least complicit in it. That to me, that makes it worse.
Well, and it's
anyway.
I mean, you think about it as far as like, I think about it as trying to make the whole system null and void. Like the less people engaging with it. Like if there was no one that engaged with it, it would be proven that they're fucking chosen, and like you could at least get the American public to do something about it then. But like even voting third party is still part of that system. Unfortunately, it's better than fucking voting for the two fucking idiots, but that's the lesser evil, which we know how I feel about those. So, anyway, continue. My apologies.
That's fine. Additionally, in an apparent effort to poison the atmosphere of the eve of Rouhani's inauguration, over 24 Democratic senators signed a letter to President Obama demanding a toughening of sanctions and a convincing threat of the use of force. In May of that year, every Democratic senator joined their Republican colleagues in supporting a resolution which urges that if the government of Israel is compelled to take military action in self-defense, the United States government should stand with Israel and provide diplomatic, military, and economic support to the government of Israel. The wording is significant in that it puts Senate Democrats on record that the United States should support an Israeli war on Iran, not only if Israel was attacked, but even if Israel attacked first. I think that's the key sentence here. This has been baked into the military-industrial complex iota or reason to be since what year was this? Was it? Hold on, I'm just checking to see. 2013.
Right.
So for over 10 years, nearly 15, this has been the ploy. Like, regardless if Israel is attacked first or given a reason to be attacked, it's on. So this is nothing new, folks. This is something that has been in the works under our noses for over a decade. But Democrats are supposed to be the bigger people here. So it just kind of proves also that when Democrats want something, they can do it very well. Like, they can plan and conceive in exactly the same way as Republicans do. They just won't do it for you in terms of like the things that you need. It's always like, oh, we can't do this because we have to work in a bipartisan way, and Republicans are never going to be able to go along with it. So we're just going to give you this half, not even a half measure, like a tenth of a measure of a thing that is not going to help all of you, but it will help maybe parse some of you. But in order for you to have it, you have to fill out this form and you have to meet this requirements in the hope that maybe, perhaps sometime you will get it. And then if you get it, then you have to shut the fuck up and vote for us anyway, because it is something and Republicans are going to do nothing for you. But you're not going to know any better. So you're going to vote for us anyway.
You missed out
That's the kind of
on.
bullshit you get.
We hear you. We see you. Your criticisms are valid.
Tale as old as time.
Fucking bullshit, dude. Like, ugh.
I don't believe I went on that long of a tangent, like just kind of straight through. But anyway, I'll read that part again. I think because, I think that part is very important. The wording is significant in that it puts Senate Democrats on record that the United States should support an Israeli war on Iran, not only if Israel was attacked, but even if Israel attacked first. By giving Benjamin Netanyahu the authority to determine what might compel Israel to act in self-defense, this near unanimous decision helped pave the way for Israel to make such claims in its U.S.-backed war in June 2025 and the joint U.S.-Israeli war this year. Fortunately, by 2015, the Obama administration, along with Great Britain, France, Germany, Russia, China, and with the backing of the European Union and the United Nations, was able to negotiate an agreement whereby, in return for sanctions relief, Iran drastically curtailed its nuclear program to the degree that it was physically impossible to build a nuclear weapon.
I'd like to repeat that because it sounds vaguely important.
Yes, I will repeat that. Was able to negotiate an agreement whereby, in return for sanctions relief, Iran drastically curtailed its nuclear program to the degree that it was physically impossible to build a nuclear weapon, while also agreeing to strictly monitor to ensure compliance. So, all this bullshit in terms of, they might have the capacity, there's potential, even just a potential, no. There is none. So, those of your folks who are telling them otherwise, send them this segment to shut them up. Because Iran, even to this day, has no potential of that. But as I said, they should now, given how much shit they've been going through at the moment. Especially since Israel is technically not supposed to have nuclear weapons, but they do. Why do they have them? So, it took perhaps the most intense lobbying efforts of the Obama presidency to get congressional Democrats on board. Again, let's make it very clear. So, you're able to lobby for this, right? Again, can't lobby for you to get universal health care or living wage or better education or better streets.
He had to fight the fucking Democrats just to make this fucking deal happen.
Which again, but that's the point.
Yeah.
Like, Obama did what he was supposed to do and got his people in check. Biden, under when Manchin and Sinema, not just them, but those were the two that were kind of mentioned a lot during the administration. He didn't reel them in. He was just like, whatever. Almost as if he wanted them to circumvent any policy, again, very minimal, towards having a crumb for you. So it does show that Democrats are able to lobby in the right way if they wanted to. So, which is funny because I was arguing with a person last week because I went on vacation last week over this. He was like, where's the money that Democrats need in order to make the radical changes for people? I'm like, first of all, I'm not the politician here. They're the ones that should be doing that on behalf of you, not curtailing to these people in order to get what corporations want.
Right.
Should be the other way around. So they have the means to do it. They just choose not to. But anyway, in the end, only 2 Democratic senators, Robert Mendez and Chuckles, opposed the...
Of course he's part of that.
Of course. But their colleagues nevertheless elected them to senior positions.
Yep.
Mendez as
Hi,
chair of the
I'm
Foreign
Chucky,
Relations
and I'm your friend to the end.
Menendez as chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, and Schumer as their Senate. So they.
Yep. That got rewarded. Now, do you
Right.
see now? Like,
Right. Anyway, the 2016 Democratic platform endorsed the nuclear deal, but declared that if Iran violated the agreement, rather than allow for the automatic reimposition of strict international sanctions to pressure Iran to come back into compliance as the deal outlined, a Democratic president will not hesitate to take military action. Since it would take Iranians at least a few years to rebuild their dramatic circumscribed nuclear program to the point where they could develop even a single nuclear weapon, there would be plenty of time, as well as the serious punitive economic mechanisms to push Iran to resume its compliance. Immediately launching a war, as the platform called for, would therefore not only be a direct violation of the United Nations Charter, it would be completely unnecessary. This is also a partial list of ways in which Democrats have pushed for a military confrontation with Iran over the past couple of decades. Decades. Not days, decades. Even today, the fact that Democratic leaders still support unconditional military aid to Israel and Netanyahu, Trump's partner in the illegal attacks on Iran, raises questions about their sincerity in imposing the war. It is highly unlikely the United States would have launched a full-scale war under a Democratic administration as it has under Trump.
Incorrect.
However, hawkish. Well,
no,
maybe not in the way Trump is doing it.
No, but it still would have been. They were already fucking talking about it. So,
oh yeah, for sure. That's not to say they wouldn't go to war with them. They wouldn't have been as careless.
Yeah,
as
I
Trump
think
has been.
I think this is hopium. I hope that the Democrats wouldn't fucking do that. No, they would. Give them a fucking second chance. They absolutely will. So,
however hawkish many in the Democratic leadership have proven to be, they would have been far more likely to listen to allied governments. I don't think so. As well as a broad consensus of strategic analysis, intelligent officials, and military leaders that make up the foreign policy elite, many of whom have warned of the serious consequences of going to war.
You mean
at the
like
same time,
Obama did in fucking Libya, and I mean he took how many wars he make? Like
7.
You're right. That we're still fucking in. Like they've been doing the exact job they've been supposed to. So
right. At the same time, it is important to recognize how Democrats share responsibility with Republicans for creating the climate that has made such a war possible. So, like, overall, I think he was right.
He's on the right path.
All of it, but the last bit. Again, as I said, I do believe would Democrats would have been as reckless as Trump? No, but they would have found a lot more.
They would have marketed it better. That's about it.
Palatable way.
Yeah.
Palatable way to justify it. But it still would have happened nonetheless. Especially if
it was
Hillary was
pragmatic
president
or whatever the fuck. Like,
right.
You know.
Right. And like I said,
they do the
and like
same
I keep
shit.
saying, they have the PR, they have the marketing to justify a war. You know, like they would have took their time to figure out how to make it palatable, try as they might, to the general public to give that justification for going to war with Iran. Now, whether or not it would have succeeded, regardless, that would have been the question, because I think now, again, with the light of social media, we're not in the early aughts anymore. Like, you know, like social media wasn't a thing back then. So it's a lot easier to dupe people into thinking that the war in Iraq was justified. I think even with this, even with if it were Kamala president, I don't think it would have been, assuming that they would have gone to war in some fashion, it wouldn't have been popular anyway. But again, it wouldn't have been as would the strait have been closed? I would argue maybe not. But there would have been a way, which again kind of proves if Democrats really want to do something, they are crafty and can plan out shit for as long as Republicans can. Because that's the thing. Like, everyone kind of comments how, especially with given like with Project 25, like 2025, how Republicans have planned this for years. Like, they've been planning for all of this stuff for over 50 years. And now they're getting their justice. Like, you just read it. Like, Democrats have been wanting this war for around for almost 20. Like, and almost egging Trump on to start the war, if anything. Like, so, and I just get so upset that that's not talked about often at all in mainstream media and even in independent media, how that's the reason why they're so complacent. They wanted this war. They've been wanted this war, but now it's just okay under Trump because he didn't do it. That's what the Democrats are mad about, is that he didn't do it the right way. Like, they didn't come to us to ask us to see if we wanted this war. So it's easy to kind of hide behind Trump and how reckless he was. But make no mistake, they've been wanting this and they've been planning for this. So again, it shows how devious and cretin these people are, especially Chuckles, who's been kind of leading this thing for that long. So yeah, so again, it just goes to show, fuck the Democrats, don't do anything with them. And I'm getting tired of people making the justification that they're better because they're not as bad or not as crazy as the GOP is.
Yep. I'm with you, dude. I've been that way for a minute. Like, I was done with I don't even have those arguments anymore. The minute I hear that shit, I'm like, fucking, bro, you're not ready yet. You know? Like, they gotta figure that shit out on their own. You know?
Well, I don't think people will, because I think people are just so, and I think a lot of it is people are just, I think, somewhat scared.
Yeah.
To
propagandized
kind of,
and like,
right. I think people are scared that if they don't vote, you can argue red or blue, like what's going to happen. Like they've just been so fixated on these teams and thinking in the mindset of just using brain power. If they just do the right thing, everything will be okay. And it's like, and this op-ed is showing, no, they're not going to do the right thing ever.
Like, figure it out.
They're not going to. Like, so stop wishing on these people to do the right thing by us. They're not going to, unless they're forced to. And we're not forcing them because we're too tired, too broke, too wound down, too sick, too fill in the blank to even try. And I mean, it makes sense given like how hard people are working and how hard we're just trying to make ends meet. We don't have that kind of brain power or physical power to stand up to these people, you know? But people need to understand Democrats have a hand in this. Democrats have a hand in the bullshit that is happening. And I'm not, and again, this just kind of shows, and I keep saying this, like the idea of incrementalism is bullshit. Like, look what the GOP has been able to do within the last year and a half. Like, you're telling me that Democrats can do the same shit, but for good? They can if they go balls to the wall, but they don't.
Right.
They always throw the bipartisan thing or like the practical incrementalism bullshit, you know, to make you feel like any little bit means progress, when it's not. It's just the illusion of progress just to appease you for them to continue the bullshit that they really want to do, which is to start wars in the Middle East in order to maintain power via Israel. So fuck Israel, fuck the Democrats, fuck the whole thing. And in saying that, that's probably why we're suppressing the algorithm. So, but I don't care. But you can support us if you believe in our work and you believe in this article, especially if you agree with what Zane wrote in this article. And if you want more segments like this, you can scan the QR code you see on your screen or go to the Ko-fi link you see at the bottom of your screen. Or if you're in the YouTube chat in your live, you type in !donate all one word. the Ko-fi link will pop up, and you can give as little as $1, as much as you want. Any amount helps in order to support our work and to make sure we keep the lights on the network. If you want to give monthly, you can go to our PayPal, Substack, Cash App, and Patreon links. All are in the description below. And let us know like how you're thinking. And again, share this segment with your friends, especially the liberal friends who believe that Democrats are the resistance, so to speak. Show them this and show them how much a part of the complicity they are in the bullshit, especially during this war in Iran. And I'm sure you're going to get more in the bullshit in your next segment. Reef, I'd help us get to 3K. I think we're about 90 away from there. So thank you guys for watching and subscribing. And we love you.
Yeah. All right. To the chat, Boy Wonder. Bad cookies. They already had it, Collin, but Trump and his admins was too stupid to play it long term. The idea that they would promote riots and protests in Iran up until was time to liberate people. That's the other shit Democrats do. They do like fucking hidden regime change coups and shit. You know?
I mean, even in the article, I was thinking, who's to say that Trump did not start this war because he was so mad at like Schumer and all of them basically being like, you didn't do this, you need to do this. And just kind of poking the bear and Trump
it was
being
already...
as petty as he is, being like, okay, I'll start this war, I'll show you up. Like, who's to say like Trump in his demented mind would not start a war just because of Schumer and others like him basically telling him like, oh, you're not going hard enough in Iran. Like, I could imagine knowing Trump and how petty he is, he would have. That's why he started that shit.
The only time they said he was presidential was when he bombed an airport in Syria. So, you know, Pepperidge Farm remembers. Accord Lord, that's only when Rita Ratulsi shows up. Time to take over the earth. Bro, you hit my childhood on that one. You know? Don't be messing with no Rita Repulsa, bro. She'll send those putties after you and shit. Who was the skeleton guy? I never could remember his name. Someone in chat will remember. You never watched Power Rangers, yeah. Like
Rito Revolto.
Well, there's Rita Repulsa. That's the lady. Right. And then there's the dude with with a Z. Someone with a Z. Yeah, Z.
Lord Zed.
Something like that.
Lord Zed.
One of those.
That's your generation. You were a kid then. You should know this.
Yeah, but like they never said the name in the show, really. It was just like that was the guy, that was the skeleton guy with the staff and whatnot. And, you know.
Yeah, Lord Zed.
Right. You know? Like fucking like they never said that to him specifically. Like maybe once in a while. I don't know. Bro, fucking too much weed. That shit is not, my brain cell got rid of.
You were doing weed at 5.
It came afterward. No, you were. But it just cleared out all the memory of that, of what that dude's name was. But yeah, it's ridiculous. What
not even 5. You were like 2 or 3.
It was like literally like right in the age range that I needed that to be. It came out, so but bad cookies. I'm not brainwashed, Collin. I'm lobotomized. Big difference. I doubt you're actually lobotomized. Come on. We've not tryptopanned anything, you know? So, the world's oldest surgery, look it up. It's fun. People survived that shit somehow. Just getting drilled through the skull. It's fine. It's fine. They took it on the chin. You know? Oh my god, I totally agree, Reef. I think he's talking about the, my, like, fucking make the thing null and void. If I share the same sentiment in other chats, I get called an infiltrator and some with no solutions, just criticism. Yep. I've been that way.
Well, here's the thing. This is not the forum to have solutions.
Yeah, well,
you know, like
all my solutions I
argue-
couldn't say on fucking YouTube, especially. So
right, like those are things you discuss,
which it's not even
in community, in
I don't even
organizations,
necessarily.
offline.
I don't support a lot lot of those solutions either. You know, I'm just
But
practical, and the electoral solutions.
Right.
I'm not
I
going to
think people
support.
say that as but I think people say that as a means to shut people up.
Yeah.
Like they get tired of the criticism, so it's like, well, do you have a solution? And it's like, no, but you have the right to criticize, because it's the idea of like you criticize one party and not necessarily the other one, and both of them are just as both of them are playing again, are actors playing their role into fucking you over. And I think it's okay that we don't have solutions right now, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't talk about what you're seeing and how you're feeling.
The burden of proof is on them.
Feel about it.
Prove to me an electoral solution is going to solve the problems, like when we need them to be solved. I'll wait. Like,
right?
You can't. That's why I just don't support shit that doesn't work.
And the thing is, the solutions, again, we've seen what's somewhat working in the global south. People are not willing to do that.
Yeah.
Or rather, we don't have the means to do that, I would
argue. Or the conviction.
So, right.
You know, either one. I think people are not at that level of like rock bottom to where they feel desperate enough to do so. You know. So, but yeah, hold on. This one. I sent this to you the other day, and this feels very useful to add in. Hold on. To this conversation, at least. Dick Gregory, Colin. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yes, I do.
I can.
The American political system is sophisticated enough to deal with complex issues.
No, I believe it's too unethical, and that's where I believe it's going.
You believe the American political system is sophisticated enough to deal with complex issues?
No, I believe it's too unethical, and that's where I believe it's going to swallow up itself, and I believe we're going to look around and have mass chaos in this country.
Chaos? You're talking about violence?
I'm talking about violence, yes, because white folks are not going to tolerate being out of work. White folks not going to tolerate being told they cannot own a house. White folks not going to tolerate being told they can't go to Florida and get them some sun, and that's just what's fixing to happen. They ain't never had to worry about me, because when I tore up something, I tore up my neighborhood. White folks will blow up the bridge, they will blow up the bank, and I'm saying if we don't look and see where this country is headed, because you have white folks in this country that's never been without a job, that's never been without a good job. When I got a good job, I was surprised. I never expected it. When I found out I was going to college, I was surprised. I was the hero in my neighborhood. It's expected for white folks to go to college, and all it wants, this lifestyle. There's only two people that can survive this country. The Indians will be able to survive it because they ain't never had gas up on them. They ain't never had a thermostat to turn down. And black folks might be able to survive it, provided we can get out all that silliness and stop trying to emulate something that we're not.
You keep talking as if something dire is going to happen. Chaos if the economy falls, a revolution if the political apparatus collapses. And yet, I don't see much evidence of that. I see instead resignation, disillusionment, a retreat into self-centeredness, the me decade. I don't see any sense of the flames that might flicker into real change.
I wouldn't see it neither if I wasn't watching the economy. And I'm not saying that we were cleaner back in that last depression or pure, but conditions forced me to live next to you as my brother, so I knew what dinner was. I don't know who lived next to me now. I don't know who's upstairs. I don't know who's downstairs. I know one thing, every other person got a gun. And when you live in a nation that would squawk more about registering their rifle than registering their children, then we're in trouble. We are completely in trouble. And I think a 91-year-old white woman said it better than anyone's ever said it. And that was this past summer. This white woman in Houston, Texas got arrested for shoplifting. And her picture went around the world. And Americans sent that woman $25,000. And she held a press conference and said thanks, but no thanks. I don't need your $25,000. I need you to change the conditions that reduces people like me into shoplifting. And I love that because it embarrassed me. Because that old white woman upset me, because if my grandmother was alive in 91 and got caught shoplifting and white America sent her $20,000, she'd have got on TV praising God and talking about what a good country this is. But that woman put it right. I need you to change the conditions that reduces me down. And that's a funny thing, because when you get people that's Christians that really believe in God, they get reduced down to stealing, then you lose that thing. And if America is not watching, we in.
Yeah.
Yep. So
That shout out to whoever that woman was. You know, because that's what, and this was within the first year. I did the interview with Ronnie, my mentor in Kigali, Rwanda, and he said similar thing, you know, in terms of humanitarian help that comes in. He said, we don't need it. You know, we want the conditions changing that we're able to do the work ourselves. Like, that's what Dr. Africana, and funny enough, I hear a lot of people say, oh, Trump is cutting US aid, you know, to African countries and Africa. And we played that clip that she said, it's like, that's not paraphrasing, but she said that's bullshit because it's making our people dependent on it when we should be fending for ourselves. And honestly, like, that's the point. And that's what everyone wants in this country. We don't want handouts. We want to be able to live in a way that we deserve, we choose to live comfortably.
Yeah.
Whatever that means for you. Like, we shouldn't have to depend on people out of charity giving to us. Like, but it's funny he said that, like, and yeah, I totally get what Dick was saying, because I know plenty of people, especially in the Black community, if they get like that kind of money, yeah, they're gonna, especially those in the church, you gotta be, oh, thank you, Jesus, God is answered by, like,
yeah, that shit's happening now to white folk. They'd be like, fuck yeah, I'll take my free car.
Well, you can make that argument that's happening to everybody right now, but I see that a lot within the community. But it was very poignant that that woman said, thank you, but no thank you. I do not want this. I do not need your charity. I want to be able to make this on my own. Change the, since you were able to give me this, I feel like she was kind of saying, since you were able to give me this money, since you have the means, lobby in a way that I'm able to do this for myself collectively, in terms of like the people with means are able to kind of, you know, so, but yeah, but yeah, I mean, he's right. Like, we're in trouble. Like, and depending when that clip is, it's like things are not getting any better, you know. Like,
someone said in the chat, they're already, white folk already burning down factories. So yep. So they said, and those guns don't really matter that much anymore to the drone and droid armies. They just poison us slowly now. Like Monsanto seeds, yep. How long has this crap been? Could have been recorded with a feather pen, says Kieran Pine. Yep. Colin capitalist uses people like the ones that man was describing. By having crime in the streets, they can justify both a police state and high property values outside the cities. Yep. I mean,
capitalism.
We're still in it, ain't we? So, speaking of drone and droid armies,
oh God,
we're gonna get to this story
because I might rage on this.
This is who the Democrats and Republicans ain't got nothing on fucking oligarchs running the show, you know, and they put out a manifesto this week, the oligarchs. So, you know, it's been in the news now. We were talking about it well before it was cool. We're the hipsters of actual fucking truth, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how we're the ones. I feel I would jag off in a basement. I don't fucking know. Sure.
Make that shirt for the hipsters
of truth
or something like that.
Palantir post Manifesto lamenting post-war neutering of Nazi Germany, Colin. That's where we start. So we're gonna listen to Jaren Zhang of Truth Out. And we're boy howdy, prep your butts for this nonsense. But anyway, major military contractor and surveillance giant Palantir has posted a chilling manifesto on social media that calls for tech companies like itself to play a larger role in a dystopian future where imperialists and white supremacist powers are unleashed and Americans are increasingly subject to the whims of the surveillance state. The post contains 22 points, it says, were summarized from a 2025 book, The Technological Republic, written by Palantir co-founder and fish person of Isthmus himself, Alex Karp, and Nicholas W. Kamiska, head of corporate affairs and legal counsel to the company's CEO. So shout out to the ones who got that reference, the fish people of Innsmouth. You're welcome. So Colin, I pulled the whole thing because why have a summary of a summary when we can just have the summary? So this is literally Palantir on Twitter, and they're writing, because we get asked a lot, here's the Technological Republic in brief. So this is their like mission statement as a company, practically. So, number one, Silicon Valley owes a moral debt to the country that made its rise possible. The engineering elite of Silicon Valley has an affirmative obligation to participate in the defense of the nation. That's where they start.
Weapons.
Yes.
Weapons.
Gotta make weapons, people. You gotta pay your homage to the fucking blood god. You know, anyway, we must rebel against the tyranny of the apps. Is the iPhone our greatest creative, if not crowning achievement as a civilization? The object has changed our lives, but it may also now be limiting and constraining our sense of the possible. Free email. Free email is not enough. The decadence of a culture of civilization, and indeed its ruling class, will be forgiven only if that culture is capable of delivering economic growth and security for the public. That's an interesting statement. I wonder what they mean by that. The limits of soft power or soaring rhetoric alone have been exposed. The ability of free and democratic societies to prevail requires something more than moral appeal. It requires hard power, and hard power in this century will be built on software. Any questions what that might mean?
Have been exposed.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they want weapon software, essentially.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, they want,
But it's all very vague.
More guns.
It's all vague enough to mean whatever they want it to mean. Here we go. The question is not whether AI weapons will be built. We're going to build them, fuck you. Is who will build them and for what purpose. So our adversaries will not pause to indulge in theatrical debates about the merits of developing technologies with critical military and national security applications. They will proceed. That's just fucking fear-mongering, right? They're saying the terrorists could have drone swarms. Why not us? Essentially. So, national service should be a universal duty. Okay, here's the big one I saw a lot of people talking about. We should, as a society, seriously consider moving away from an all-volunteer force and only fight the next war if everyone shares in the risk and cost. Which, if you can see how that's working out in Ukraine...
Right, so here's the thing, though, with this.
Yeah.
They said if everyone shares in the risk, that's bullshit.
Yep.
Because not everyone's going to share in the risk. You think that, and I saw a lot of people say, well, in layman's terms, a draft, folks. This is what is being proposed, a draft.
Yep.
Fortunately, I'm too old.
Yep. Agreed. Care Bear, come back. No, we lost Care Bear. But yeah, definitely draft shit. Like
this year, the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. It's not it's just everyone who is not rich.
Yeah.
Let's make that clarification. Anyone who is not in our class will share in the risk. You know, it's not going to be people like Barron Trump. That's what a lot of people that I saw online was saying. Well, if there's a draft, you're going to send Barron first. He ain't going anywhere. You know, especially given his dad is a draft dodger. Like, there ain't no way in hell they're going to give away the rich to serve in the war.
Yep.
Like, isn't Benjamin Netanyahu's son like gallivanting in Miami or some bullshit right now? Like, and he's of military age that he should be fighting in the IDF, but somehow he's exempt. So that in itself is bullshit. Like, but it's funny how even with that, and I saw a lot of people was saying this too, how you can, because selective service is still a thing. Like, and I remember that vividly, like when I turned 18, like, and especially given that I was in an all boys school, it was especially a very big deal. Like, I couldn't apply for financial aid if I didn't do the questionnaire for this selective service. They're able to do that in terms of war, but they cannot do that in terms of voting.
Right.
Right?
Or anything. Any public servant, anything, which we'll get to in a second, which they don't want that either. So, but number 7, if a U.S. Marine asks for a better rifle, we should build it. And the same goes for software, which Andoril is going to be the one building him the better rifle. So same two heads of the same coin of this company, which, you know, appropriateness of military action abroad. We have to make a commitment to those who step into harm's way. Yeah, okay. This one is a doozy. Public servants need not be our priests. Any business that compensated its employees in the way that the federal government compensates public servants would struggle to survive. Bullshit. I'm going to go with bullshit. Because neither of you are compensating its employees for their actual labor and the wealth they make for you. Neither of you are doing that. Let's start there. You know, so we should show far more grace towards those who have subjected themselves to public life. This is, they just don't want you to fucking criticize them. You know? And, like, don't criticize celebrities, don't criticize politicians. You know, show them more grace. Be nicer to them. You know? But meaner to our enemies. Fucking the cyclization of modern politics is leading us astray. Those who look to the political arena to nourish their soul and sense of self, who rely too heavily on their eternal life-finding expression in people they may never meet, will be left disappointed. Ironically, they're not too far off with that one. Like, you know, our society has grown too eager to hasten and is often gleeful at the demise of its enemies. The vanquishing of an opponent is a moment to pause, not rejoice. The fuck is that statement? Like, okay. The atomic age is ending. One age of deterrence, the atomic age, is ending, and a new era of deterrence built on AI is set to begin. Do you get what this AI shit is now? It's weapon of mass destruction is the way they're thinking about it.
Right.
It's a new weapon of mass destruction that everyone is going to have, and we need to make sure our Manhattan Project is winning. That's how they view this. So, you know, fuck the environment. We got missiles to make, essentially. So, 13. No other country in the history of the world has advanced progressive values more than the United States. Okay. Like, American power has made possible an extraordinarily long peace. fucking just wrong. Like, have never known a world war. Yeah, ask the children being bombed if they have seen a world war. Like, I think the scope is not necessary when in regards to peace. You know? Like, the post-war neutering of Germany and Japan must be undone. The defanging of Germany was an overcorrection which Europe is now paying a heavy price. A similar and highly theatrical commitment to Japanese pacifism will, if maintained, also threaten to shift the balance of power in Asia, which is just, we want Japan to be on our side in a war, essentially.
Right.
And Germany, we want on our side. So, we should applaud those who attempt to build where the market has failed to act. The culture almost snickers at Musk's interest in grand narrative, as if billionaires ought to simply stay in their lane of enriching themselves. Any curiosity or genuine interest in the value of what he has created is essentially dismissed, or perhaps lurks from beneath a thinly veiled scorn. Well, why is this part of your... Well, whatever. Like, Silicon Valley must play a role in addressing violent crime, Care Bear. We gotta be tough on crime.
We've talked about this already.
Yep.
Like,
yes.
In terms of AI being used to essentially figure out where the evildoers are.
Right.
And
To racially profile a city.
Profile.
Right. Right.
So
yep. RoboCop.
That's already happening.
This is RoboCop. They want RoboCop. This is what they want.
Right.
RoboCop and
RoboCop
Minority
and
Report.
RoboDog.
Both. All three. Fucking Minority Report too. They want fucking, you know, might as well throw Weyland-Yutani in the mix and throw fucking Blade Runner in. Just all the dystopian science fiction. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Abandoning any serious efforts to address the... Oh, fuck it, dude. The language is awful. The ruthless exposure of the private lives of public figures drives far too much talent away from government service. This, you know what that is? You know what they just said? They said, don't fucking look into the sex crimes and moral issues of our politicians.
Right.
Like,
No,
because you guys let the Epsteins get out, no one wants to work for government.
Yeah, that's what I read into that. Right.
The caution in public life that we unwittingly encourage is corrosive. Those who say nothing wrong often say nothing much at all. Okay. A lot of this is just nonsense that they fucking don't really believe. The persuasive intolerance of religious beliefs in certain circles must be resisted. The elite's intolerance of religious belief, yeah, okay, when you got fucking people quoting the Torah and wanting to be Jesus, I don't think it's intolerant. One of the most telling signs that its political project continues a less open intellectual movement that many within it would claim. Yeah, to some degree, Islamophobia is completely, like, the religious beliefs of Arab people is intolerated in, you know, American fucking government. So some culture has produced vital advances, other remains dysfunctional and regressive. All cultures are now equal. Criticism and value judgments are forbidden, yet this new dogma glosses over the fact that certain cultures, and indeed subcultures, have produced wonders, others have proven middling and worse, regressive and harmful. The most gigantic dog whistle I have ever fucking heard. By the way, this is, you know what this is, right? This is white people made shit, black people didn't, and fucking any criticism of...
I don't even read into that. I call it exploitation. That's what I'm reading into that.
Yeah, more of that for sure. Well, but don't criticize any cultural differences. Like, You know, stop hating on the white folk. We made shit.
No, why criticize them when we can take their shit?
That too.
That's why.
But see, this is the things that this is from them to us, of like, they're claiming that the fucking black culture is dysfunctional and regressive, and brown culture and Arab culture and Indian.
Yeah, you watch our watch our music.
Yep.
You basically take our body parts and make them mainstream. You take our fashion and make it mainstream. You take our music and make it mainstream. Like, you hate black culture, but yet you'll take all those things that you claim to hate and make them your own and think it's good. Make that make sense.
Well, and they make the culture, the parts of the culture they incentivize are the dysfunctional and regressive, which we've talked about as well in regards to the hip hop industry, you know. Number 22, last one. We must resist the shallow temptation of a vacant and hollow pluralism. We in America, more broadly the West, have for the past half century resisted defining national cultures in the name of inclusivity, but inclusion into what? More dog whistling nonsense. Anyway, Sharon Zhang continues. The company, also co-founded by Peter Thiel, says that the U.S. should adopt mandatory national military service as on a universal basis. The military need should be prioritized above all because the ability of free and democratic societies to prevail requires hard power. The type of power that Palantir wishes to support prioritizes Western values and denigrates subcultures. The manifesto says, in a clear racist dog whistle, civilizations like Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan should be returned to power. We read that. Several of the points echo right-wing complaints about cancel culture and inclusion, while backing a seemingly white supremacist vision of the United States. Right? We read the culture shit. Tech companies like Palantir must play an outside role in the future. The company says, claiming that Silicon Valley must play a role in addressing violent crime, which we read that as well. The Post, as described as comically evil by critics, is concerning, coming from a company with growing influence with the federal government. Just over the first year of Trump's second term, the company's stock more than doubled in value as it scored over $11 billion worth of contracts with the federal government. The company's power within its government work include decision-making powers in wartime, widespread surveillance of immigrants and Americans at large, and spying on Americans, a long-standing practice of the company in both its federal and local law enforcement partnerships. So those flock cameras were also going to be part of that. But anyway, to finish this out, I have this bit of satire about it from Normal Island News, where they write, Palantir publishes Manifesto and unveils K800 Democracy Enforcer prototype. Yay! In a usual move for a corporation that we all thought was focused on philanthropy, Palantir's technology has published its plans for global domination. In a viral Twitter post, everyone's favorite AI company unveiled its 22-point manifesto, which reads like a digital Mein Kampf for ketamine users who wear Patagonia vests. The gist of the manifesto is, now that we've harvested enough data to blackmail every leader in the West, it's time to move on to the next stage of our master plan, hard power. Palantir warns against vacant and hollow pluralism and calls for a new golden age of imperialism. Democracy. It argues that non-white countries are regressive and have not contributed to humanity, so naturally we need to conquer them with weapons developed by Palantir. You know, those existing AI systems that Israel uses to kill families in their homes, like the Gospel and Where's Dally and Lavender AI, imagine those systems installed into an army of killer robots that are based on the personality of Laura Loomer. I know, it's my wet dream too. Excitingly, Palantir has just unveiled its K800 Democracy Enforcer, an AI-powered robot that at present is just a cuddly chrome exoskeleton, but future updates should include flesh harvested from Palestinian children. What did you think those Israeli skin banks were for? According to the press release, the K800 is designed to counter the tyranny of the apps, which means it will hunt down and eliminate TikTok influencers who step out of line. Its regressive culture detection subroutine scans crowds and searches Palantir's database for wrong thinkers who whine about things like NHS data harvesting. First-time offenders will be offered the chance of re-education via an audio version of Alex Karp's The Technological Republic, but it's expected that many will simply opt for death. Importantly, the K800 is designed to go into the schools and hospitals of any oil-rich country in need of liberation. This should help avoid the bad optics of flattening the buildings with bombs. Instead, we will just terminate the inhabitants unless they are willing to obey. Anyone with the wrong skin color or religion will be given a choice. Come with me if you want to live. In the rules-based international order, which means slavery for all but the prettiest who will instead be joining the next Epstein Island. Cuba. Alex Karp asked the K800 to demonstrate its abilities on stage by executing the captured Greta Thunberg, but unfortunately it was hacked by Iranians who made it perform a dance and then switched it off. It was a bit embarrassing if I'm honest, but a flustered Alex insisted the problem should be fixed in the next update, after which it will be impossible to override the machine's decision-making software. I've never watched a science fiction movie, but I can't see any way that letting Alex Karp have an army of killer robots could go wrong. We're talking about a man so dedicated to his work he can't find the time to brush his hair. A man who had called for a return to national service and that remilitarization of Germany and Japan. Clearly, he knows his history better than I know my science fiction. The Palantir CEO explains Silicon Valley owes America a moral debt. The K800 is simply our way of paying it back. Palantir stocks soared by 14% when news broke that society is heading into the most terrifying version of the future possible, short of nuclear annihilation. This isn't going to end in nuclear annihilation, right? Right? Well, if, viewers of science fiction remember T2, Sarah Connor might have dealt with some nuclear annihilation. Spoilers. Ever any thoughts?
Here's the thing with this. If the Democrat, again, I have to go with Democrats. Well, government in general. Like, you would think that government, well, Democrats especially, would be up in arms over this. So far, it hasn't been a peep. And you've kind of reported over the years that, especially with Biden funding the police state more, like, a lot of that's tied to AI. So, in as much as Democrats could say, they may want to attempt it, they want this too.
Yeah, they're paid by the same fuckers.
Benefits that, right, especially given the fair majority of what you read in the manifesto applies to war. Like even as far as the draft thing, people in government should be up in arms over it. But I haven't heard a peep from them because, again, they're not the ones who will have to go and fight. It's us that will have to. Yep. So there has been no pushback in government. And the sad thing is, I could see a lot of this happening under Trump because obviously they are like Palantir's dog walking him. Well, I'll also make the argument that they will walk the Democrats too because a lot of them are bought and sold under Palantir as well. But Trump is just so blatantly like a cuck that, I can imagine a lot of this being implemented within the next couple of years, especially given that there's been murmurs of a draft on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I wouldn't be shocked if that does happen even this year. So this is very scary, to say the least. and and I don't think this is a story that really people should just forget about, especially like if there's a draft on the horizon. Like, people should be terrified.
Yep. As they should, but they'll figure it out far too late. So, but this is definitely why YouTube has shadow banned us to hell, talking about stories like these. So you're welcome to, give us a little dollary dues without YouTube skimming off the top by going to ko-fi.com/Indie News Network or scanning that QR code on your screen. Links are in the donation below. Links are in the description below. But you can't give monetarily. Like and subscribe. Share this video and leave a comment letting me know what you think. Otherwise, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, chat, Golden Monarch, they want Skynet. Palantir may as well be Skynet. It's working its way there. It's already the fucking evil, like, company that Batman didn't want to use and let Morgan Freeman use it instead and then immediately turned it off. We just have that now. That just exists. The Ponzi scheme empire, what could go wrong? Sent Cart Magi and Theo Peter to the asylum. Yep. What else we got? People do know what Palantir actually is, right? Like where they got the name. You know this, right, Care Bear? You're a nerd like myself.
I think so.
So both Palantir and Andoril are like Lord of the Rings references. Palantir being like the evil orb that hold on. Not Saruman, but fucking Sauron, the wizard, the wizard is like looking into to like keep track of the hobbitses and whatnot, but it literally turns him evil the whole time.
Right.
Like it's classically like the most evil like it's more evil than Sauron in the books. Like it's its own evil entity, and then Andoril is the this is even more of a deep cut, the sword that Aragon gets that like makes him king. They like piece together the shield, the Narsil things. Anyway, I don't know why my brain remembers this shit, but it does. But clearly they also fucking, but it's like, it's useful to know, you know what I mean? Just that you kind of know where their thinking is. So the hipsters of truth, that should be the slogan of the show. I don't know. As a hipster, I feel like I don't want to be called a hipster, Just because I like good coffee and literature does not mean I need to have a mustache and a monocle, all right? Like...
Although I can argue the glasses I have now look more hipstery.
Yeah, I mean, I could...
In that now.
I could throw my hipsters on if I need to, you know what I mean? Bam, hipster, look at that. I can put a beanie and put beeswax in my mustache and I'd be halfway there. But anyway, I gotta clean these fucking things. That's what I need to do. But anyway, what do we have coming up next week? I think Indy's doing a No One Wants to Work Anymore very, very soon. Like tomorrow night, I do believe. So look out for that one. And
Shanda's
Oz is doing a big memorial stream Saturday, so go tune in for that. Shout out, Oz for holding it down for that. I think Pasta's supposed to be joining him, so definitely go check that out. What else? Sunday will be uncensored boats on the Rumble only, you know, where we get to have a little more fun than we normally do. And then, you know, Monday, Tuesday will be, you know, another Indie News Now, and Wednesday will be us again. You know.
Yep. Be nice to me next week. Is my birthday week next week, y'all.
Yeah.
So.
Happy birthday. Nice. All right, fam. Remember, labels are bad. Stay independent. Good night, fam.
Have a good week, everyone.
There's a difference between peace and liberation, is there not? You can have injustice and have peace. Isn't that correct? And peace and be enslaved.
Yes.
So peace isn't the answer.
No.
Liberation is the answer.